Hey folks, and welcome to another edition of the Bamsters News. It is Monday, August 26th, and most of the news today is going to focus on the D23 Expo that took place over the weekend, as well as some rumors we'll say right now that Disney and Sony may have reached an agreement, but more on that towards the end. Most of it we're going to talk about is going to be all the stuff that was officially released at D23. So I'm going to kind of bounce around a little bit. I've reorganized things. This wasn't necessarily in the order that things took place, but first we're going to talk about the two Pixar movies. So the first one was called Soul. Basically, this is going to star Jamie Foxx, Felicia Rashad. The Nemesis character Paul is voiced by Daveed Diggs. Now, Tina Fey is also going to star in this, and I mean the artwork was definitely kind of cutesy, and more or less what they said about this was, if you ever wondered where your passion, your dreams, and your interests come from, basically what makes you you, they're saying that this is going to describe a journey from the streets of New York City to the cosmic realms to discover the answer to life's most important questions. So, okay, I guess similar to the Emotions one they did with the the red raging guy and the other ones, I don't remember, but that one was cute, and my kiddo enjoyed it, so I'm sure she'll enjoy this one as well. After that, one that I'm actually kind of looking forward to was called Onward. Now, this is going to star Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, and this is basically in a world where there are things like elves and orcs and whatnot, but magic has been gone. And basically, I think that Chris, or at least the joke that Tom Holland was playing was, in the Marvel universe they were space buddies, but now they're elf buddies and or elf bros or something like that. But this is going to center around creatures living a normal life without magic, and then they kind of bring magic, or at least in some ways bring magic into this world, and the effects that has. So, but I'm definitely liking the artwork and the animation style for this, and with my interest in all things mystical, magical, RPG, Lord of the Rings type stuff, this is right up my alley, so I'm excited for this one. They didn't touch on anything about Spider-Man while Tom Holland was on the stage, but he did have kind of an interesting quote leaving. He said, "It's been an interesting week, and I want you to know that I'm grateful from the bottom of my heart, and I love you 3000," which, the crowd reacted very well to. But like I said, they didn't officially come out and announce anything. There were some rumors and some hopes that there would be some kind of deal struck before the D23, like Saturday panels, and that we might hear something. But it doesn't look like that anything official has happened thus far. But more on the rumors later. So Disney Animation, for their announcements, they announced Raya and the Last Dragon, which is an epic fantasy adventure set in Southeast Asia. And it's going to be written by Adele Blim, who wrote Crazy Rich Asians. So it's described as a mix of Hong Kong action and Disney animation magic. And the film's going to center on a young girl named Raya, who sets herself the task of hunting down the last dragon. Raya will be voiced by Cassie Steele, and the voice of Sisu, the last dragon, is going to be voiced by Awkwafina. Didn't see too much from this online, just a little bit on some of the art style, which I'm totally digging. I'm liking this, and we'll make sure that there are links and stuff that you can go check out. But yeah, I don't know. I'm up for it, man. I like what it looks like, and I want to see some more. Then, of course, Frozen 2, and, it looks like they had a pretty big announcement with that. Kristen Bell and Idina Menzel. Oh, man, I know I messed that up, and I'm so sorry. We're out on stage. They were singing the new song from Frozen. There will be a new song from Frozen, so parents prepare for that. That one will be out on November 22nd. There was also a Frozen mobile game that was announced, and this is more or less like a Candy Crush Match 3 type thing, with the additional, I guess, reward, where as you complete levels, you gain rewards and then get to help design or redesign the castle and the city. So if you're into mobile games and Candy Crush style games, there's something new for you. Then they went into some things, some live action stuff. Lady and the Tramp looks like it'll be the next film to get the live adaptation, and that's going to go live on the Disney Plus streaming service in November. There was an image shown of Emma Stone as Cruella de Vil, and that film will be out on the 28th of May, 2021. And in larger-than-life fashion, which, I mean, how else do you do it, I suppose? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sailed right up on stage, and I do mean sailed, in some kind of jungle boat from everything I was reading. Swamp boat, I should say. To announce the movie that he and Emily Blunt will be in, and she was on stage with him as well, called Jungle Cruise. So, new Disney movie property that, from what I saw, they were comparing this with things like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean being successful, and then, you know, some of the other stuff that they've tried to do with some of the rides and making them into movie properties not being so successful. So I guess we'll see whether or not this goes the route of Pirates or Haunted Mansion. There was stuff for Maleficent, and Angelina Jolie was there for that, as well as Mulan. And then I kind of ran through a lot of that stuff because it's not typically the kind of things that we necessarily always focus on, and it's not the things that necessarily like really grab me. Obviously, if you've listened to the show, you'll know that the next two large chunks of the D23 Expo were the things that I really focused on. The next part up was going to be Star Wars. So, of course, we're going to get the last season of Clone Wars, and that will premiere in February on the Disney streaming service. The Mandalorian got a trailer, a full trailer, and if you have not seen that yet, go check it out, because it looks awesome. One of the things I did take away from that is, or a couple things I should say, so it's an 8-episode season for the first season. It'll be out on the 12th when Disney Plus launches. It stars Pedro Pascal, Gina Carano, Carl Weathers, and Giancarlo Esposito and Taika Waititi. The series takes place after the fall of the Empire, so it's after Return of the Jedi and before the First Order rises. Now the funny thing is, you look at this and you see the Mandalorian armor. You see the weaponry that he's using. And of course, you know, anybody even at least a little bit familiar with Star Wars thinks Boba Fett. And because it's after Return of the Jedi, but before the new ones that have come out, I still wonder if it might be Boba Fett and they're just playing with us. Because the thing is, they don't mention his name, or at least I haven't seen them mention his name. They just call him the Mandalorian. And the armor does, you know, okay, so the helmet is missing any paint. It looks like it's just a shiny metal helmet. But then when you get like to other parts of the armor, it's got some of the browns and greens that I would expect to see. It obviously it's not an exact match to the Boba Fett armor, but I just wonder, is this going to be a storyline of, you know, what happens after Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit? I kind of hope it is, just because I think that would be super cool. But I don't know. I keep seeing things where they're saying it's not Boba Fett, but I don't know. I don't know that I necessarily believe that yet. But after the information of The Mandalorian, they also announced something else. Brought Ewan McGregor out onto stage, and he will reprise his role as Obi-Wan. This will be in a series on the Disney Plus streaming service. And the rumor that I'm hearing right now is that it's going to be a 4-part series, or mini-series maybe, if you will. It looks like he may also potentially be serving as a director on those episodes or on some of those episodes, but that's not been confirmed. What I have seen that was confirmed, though, is that the scripts have already been written and the show's going to start filming next year. So I don't know exactly how long it'll take before we finally actually start to get to see that. But since they're going to be filming next year, I mean, who knows? We could, depending on how long the post-processing stuff takes on post-production on all those, I almost wonder if maybe we could be looking at like Christmas time 2021, maybe even Christmas time, Christmas time 2020, like maybe summertime 2021. I don't know. That's just a guess. But we are going to get more Obi-Wan content, and that will make TJ extremely happy. Then they also showed a sizzle reel of things to come in the next Star Wars movie. Which, you know, I know those movies have been hit or miss for folks. Either you have, you know, loved them maybe because you're just a fan of Star Wars, or you've hated them for different reasons. But, you know, love it or hate it, it is coming. And I don't know. I just this is another one of those things where I look at this and I think that they're really trying hard to convince us that something's happening that's not really happening. And the reason I feel that way is I just don't think that they would give this big of a plot point away this early. So, you know, from what I read of what was shown of the footage is that there's a scene where, you know, there's like dozens and dozens of Star Destroyers up in the atmosphere over a planet. You see both Rey and Kylo fighting in some kind of downed ship in the middle of an ocean, and like towards the end of it, you see Rey wearing a dark hood, and she's sporting a double-bladed lightsaber that is red, just like the one that Darth Maul used. So it really, it's trying to push the narrative that she has gone dark and she is a Sith apprentice or potentially more. But she's also facing off against Kylo, so, you know, take that as you will. Multiple theories are going around. You know, I almost wonder if this is something like, is this a vision of what could or would happen if she were to fall to the dark side? And, you know, another theory I saw online was that, you know, maybe this was Palpatine having taken control of her somehow. So maybe he was a puppet master and she was under his control. You know, it's all just thoughts and theories right now. Actually, if you have a thought and theory about that, let me know down in the comments. I'd be curious to see what you think. And then switching out of Star Wars and over to the Marvel side of things, they brought out, you know, the big cast of the Eternals. Again, Angelina Jolie was on stage, and she'll be playing Thena. Richard Madden was there. He'll be playing Icarus. Gemma Chan will be playing Cersei, which I know a lot of folks theorized, or it might have even been rumored that that was the part that Angelina Jolie was going to play. Salma Hayek will be playing Ajax. Brian Tyree Henry will be playing Phastos. Barry Keoghan. Wow, I bet I butchered that one good. Druig. Kumail Nanjiani will be playing Kingo. Leah McHugh will be Sprite. Don Lee will be Gilgamesh. And Lauren Ridloff, Makari. Now that you got a chance to see, and there's images out there, it'd be quick Google search away. Might even have a link in the description for us here. But you get a chance to see like what the costumes are going to look like. So at the D23, when they brought them out, up behind them, you know, there's this massive, you know, image on the screen up behind them where you get to see what all the costuming is going to be like. I didn't see a lot of details, but one of the other really big things that came out of this is that Kit Harington is going to be playing Dane Whitman, who is someone who eventually becomes the Black Knight. It's like a mantle that gets handed down to him, at least in the comics. So how that will be portrayed in the movie, unknown yet. But, you know, Kit Harington will be joining his former co-star Richard Madden from Game of Thrones in a Marvel movie. And in this one, he'll be playing as the Black Knight. So we all knew Black Panther 2 was going to be hitting theaters at some point. But there was kind of a lack of information. We didn't exactly know when. And, you know, now we know that from D23 that it's going to be out on May 6th, 2022. So that is almost 3 years from now. Just shy of 3 years from now. So we got a little ways to wait. But, you know, Ryan Coogler will be back writing and directing it again. They're basically, you know, they're really, he said, quote unquote, we're really trying to get it right. So they're working on it. He's delivered a treatment already to Kevin Feige that has a villain and a title, but they weren't giving that information out yet. So, you know, it sounds like that's, it's a treatment. It's an initial draft. So, you know, until it gets okayed and all that, yeah, I wouldn't expect them to announce it because they got to go through the whole process of, you know, if they okay that, then they can start, you know, figuring out everything else beyond then. And of course it's, you know, like I said, it's almost 3 years away. So we're not going to see a lot of information on that yet. They got too many other things coming down the pipe between now and then. And so last of the Marvel stuff that I'm going to touch on is I'm going to go back to the rumors about the potential deal. So I've seen at least 2 different sources online this weekend that talked about a potential deal being hit between Disney and Sony. And both of these sources are quoting someone online making YouTube videos who claims to have an inside source. Since both of these articles are quoting the same source and I'm not seeing any additional sources, plus the fact that, you know, we didn't get any additional information at D23, I would really take this with a grain of salt, if even that much. I would be heavily skeptical of this. But to put the information out there. The rumor is that there's it would be a 6-picture deal with Tom Holland with an option for the 7th. There would be 3 more Spider-Man films after Spider-Man 3, which would be a new trilogy, and that trilogy would focus on Peter Parker's college years, and it would plan to have Peter meet up with Firestar and Iceman. So basically in preparation for... older folks may remember these cartoons, younger folks may not have a clue, maybe never saw it, but the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends was this cartoon where Iceman and Firestar and Spider-Man all lived together and also fought crime together. So, picture the 3 of them living in an apartment somewhere in New York City and going about their daily lives, doing their own thing, and also fighting crime, as superheroes do. But instead of the 50-50 deal that Disney wanted, Marvel Studios would helm and co-finance the Spider-Man related movies for 30% of the profits. Sony would distribute, but Disney would acquire exclusive digital and online rights for the Disney Plus and affiliated TV networks. Marvel Studios would helm and co-finance Spider-Verse live-action spin-offs under the same terms, which a lot of this that I'm seeing, including this next item, it makes me very excited because these are things I would love to see. Venom would relocate into the MCU. That one I find a little difficult to believe, but I would love to see it happen. And then Sony would be given permission for a TV live-action program based on the Spider-Verse properties. Apparently they have the film rights to Spider-Man, but they don't have the TV rights. They would need permission from Disney from that. So, again, this is all rumored stuff, and it's all very exciting if it ever ends up being true. But between the fact that there was nothing announced at D23 and then an interview with Entertainment Weekly that happened after the panels at D23, basically they sat down with Tom Holland and with Kevin Feige, and what Tom Holland had to say about it was, he says, basically we've made 5 great movies. It's been 5 amazing years. I've had the time of my life, and who knows what the future holds. But all I know is that I'm going to continue playing Spider-Man and having the time of my life. It's going to be so fun, however we choose to do it. The future of Spider-Man will be different, but it will be equally as awesome and amazing, and we'll find new ways to make it even cooler. And then Kevin Feige said that he'd felt gratitude and joy about Spider-Man, that we got to make 5 films within the MCU, 2 standalones and 3 with the Avengers. It was a dream that I never thought would happen. It was never meant to last forever. We knew there was a finite amount of time we'd be able to do this, and we told the story we wanted to tell, and I'll always be thankful for that. Now, the only part of that I think I kind of disagree with a little bit is he says that they told the story they wanted to tell. The way they've been setting up Spider-Man in the last few films between Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home, kind of, not necessarily taking on the mantle of Iron Man or Tony Stark necessarily, but kind of sliding in to take the place, to fill in that vacuum, that void. I don't know that they were necessarily done telling the story that they wanted to tell, but they are right. It's been amazing getting to see Spider-Man like this. It has been incredibly awesome, and I've totally enjoyed it. And I can only hope that for their part, if Sony is unable to reach a deal with Disney, I can only hope that they've learned from these and we get some great Spider-Man movies going forward. If Venom is any indication, I had some really mixed feelings about that. Yeah, Venom looked great, but some of the writing on that film, the gentleman that they picked to play the villain was just kind of, I felt miscast just because I felt he was hard to believe as this diabolical villain like that. But yeah, some of the other writing and stuff that they did with some of the other symbiotes, I don't know, didn't make sense to me. Take that for whatever it's worth. And lastly, one more thing I wanted to mention before I get out of here for today. I know it's been a bunch of stuff. It was all focused on, Disney-related things. But Techland is going to be showing off some Dying Light extended gameplay footage. So if you are a fan at all of the parkour-zombie-killing-fps, there'll be an opportunity to catch some extended gameplay of that. And we'll post up, links. It's going to be, I believe, on their Twitch channel, YouTube, Steam, and Facebook. And that says it'll be at 11 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. 7 p.m. British Standard Time and 8 p.m. Central European Standard Time. So definitely go check that out if Dying Light 2 has been on your radar. As always, thanks again. Greatly appreciated for sticking through it. Apologize that this news update has gone a little bit long. There was just so much to cover from D23, and I wanted to get as much of that as I could out to you guys. And as always, a like, thumbs up, and share is appreciated. It will greatly help us out in the future. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that so you can get updates as we continue to post things. And come back on Wednesday. We will have our regular podcast episode. That is going to be our upcoming game segment where we talk about the games that are coming out in September. And it will also include G's, basically his Gamescom wrap-up. We're going to get a chance to sit down and talk to him about the things that he got to see and the people he got to talk to while he was at Gamescom last week.